Hey, what's up,
Hey,
everybody? It's us again. We're back. We've made some commitments. We're going to end 2020 with a bang. You're going to hear lots of us from now on. We're not going to
that's
screw
great for some people and
this.
maybe not so great for other people, I guess. I don't know.
The great thing about the internet is just tune us out.
Yeah,
4th Gen, Nick and Bryce here again. Hope everybody is doing good, staying safe. Nick, how you doing, man?
doing good.
Yeah, what's
We got
new? What's new and exciting?
a little bit, this, a little bit of that.
A little bit
It's
of that
just
stuff.
living in this time.
Living in the COVID
I'm just
time.
2020 like everybody else.
What was it? Oh man, we learned some really interesting things about COVID actually. Well,
Are
not
we starting with that now?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because we took we were chatting with our neighbor's kid, and he was telling us about this new kind of acne maskne
Oh yeah,
acne.
because you're wearing the mask.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you're
yeah,
wearing the
that
mask,
makes
right?
sense. Yeah,
And I was like, oh shit, I never even thought of that. Like, yeah, I guess that would be a problem for sure
yeah,
for teens, right?
yeah.
And so like there was that, and then like there was one of the girls was had some like slang for like the times, and I'm just trying to remember what she was saying, but it was kind of like what they're calling it now, like what these kids are
Yeah,
they're
because
called like
they're sort
it's
of
the
like
COVID times, so like they've
yeah,
got like
they're
like
like living in it.
yeah,
Like
so like there was the Great Depression, and then there was then now it's like the
this is also the Great Depression.
this is pretty much like, oh man, like yeah, like 2020 cannot end
So
sooner.
then, so somebody, real quick. So the CDC, like
Mm.
the in the U.S., sent out a thing saying, please don't use your mask to stop the smoke from the
Oh,
wildfires. They're like, your mask doesn't stop the smoke, right? It doesn't stop smoke particles, right?
yeah.
And then some scientist, some research, of course,
Oh, gee.
pipes up and says, "Well, hang on." And he says, "This is how big a smoke particle is, and this is how big a COVID particle is, and the smoke particle is
Like
even
even
is
smaller.
even no is what did he say? The smoke particle is way is it bigger than a COVID particle? No,
It would be small. It probably was smaller. No, well, no, it should be bigger because we can actually see smoke.
well, he was basically saying that. Um,
Hey, we're not scientists,
We're not
people.
scientists. He was basically just saying that he was basically saying that like, oh, if the mask doesn't stop smoke, it doesn't stop
It's not
COVID.
gonna stop COVID.
So that's what he said, and then of
But you
course it
know,
started a whole big thing, right?
oh,
So it was just like, but it was funny because he literally just like, it's a Twitter, so you can retweet the exact,
right, yeah,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of funny. It was just like literally 50 seconds. Like, well, that
And,
can't be right because if you're
and there's so many like conflicting reports on like masks help, masks don't, and then you get these like people that are like dead set on like I'm not wearing a mask,
yeah,
and like they're whatever they're I think they're like
yeah,
calling them Karens or something like that, and these people are showing up in the
oh,
news
that's
all the
yeah, it's
time, and they're
brutal.
like berating people and freaking
I
out,
was like,
and
it's
it's
not the
just like,
employee's
oh,
fault.
I
It's not the
know,
employee's fault you have to
poor
wear. Like,
poor guys just trying to make a
I'm
living.
making $15 an hour.
Leave the bugger alone,
Like,
man.
he's like, do you think, and they have to wear them all. You know what I mean? It's not like you can get to your car or get to your house and take it off. They have to wear it all day, 10 hours.
Exactly.
It's like, come on,
Yeah, so it's
oh
like
man. Anyways,
this whole thing.
yeah,
Anyway, so let's
got a lot to
we
cover.
got a lot to cover today.
We're all over the map.
We're all over the map. We're gonna start things off on a positive note. We're gonna go to the wide camera shots. You can see our sexy stuff now, and bam,
Mandalorian
Mandalorian season
season
two,
2.
October 30th coming out. Super. This is I'm like I like Star Wars, but this has kind of taken it to a different level. I really like this Mandalorian thing has I'm really
You're
looking forward to this.
yeah. Well,
I'm hooked on
I like. Okay, so I'm one of those psychos
it.
who like I love watching the video game trailers, the cinematic
Mm,
trailers, and like
me too.
like when you
Love it.
watch the Star Wars games, their trailers,
Yeah.
like when you watch like just the new one that came out, Squadrons,
Okay. Yeah.
Rogue Squadron. I just dated myself. Nintendo 64. That's what I was when I was playing it. Um, you watch this 6 minute CGI little movie, you know, and it's unreal.
Yeah.
They like nail the it's just Star Wars. It's like they nail the like sounds and the how, and just it's so good. And then you're like, wow, that 6 minutes was better than 9 hours of the last the last four movies they made.
Yeah.
and it's like, and that's what
It always seems
man,
to be that though. Like you
yeah,
see, like it's like even the like Assassin's Creed. Like I love the trailers that they put
yeah.
together for
It's
those
like, why
things.
can't they just make a 90-minute movie,
Oh,
just
like that.
build it like that,
Yeah.
and then you can do whatever you want. You don't need to, because like for me, it's I could care less about the actors and
Yep.
it
Yeah.
just doesn't have to be live action. I don't care. But it's like, but the Mandalorian feels like that. It feels like Star Wars,
Yep.
and you get to watch, you get to watch an episode that's you're just totally in Star
You
Wars.
get into it.
Yeah,
Like and like I know the one thing I thought at the beginning when I first watched the first season was like these episodes are short.
they feel short.
They
Yeah,
feel so short. Like
yeah,
they're just like, but I mean, I think that's genius on their end because it just keeps you wanting more,
yeah.
and so you go out. So they must have finished this before COVID hit, then,
I think so,
or
or
almost,
almost.
right?
Yeah. But
So
so did you watch because you're in production, so you should. Did you watch how they make the
yeah,
show?
yeah, I
And it's
watched it
it's
on
not
Disney.
green screen.
Yeah,
It's giant panels.
yeah,
That's
that is the
crazy.
craziest thing ever.
Yeah, that's what's like
But it gives it such a more real feel. Like that's what I feel.
yeah, like would it though? Like because it's still just
Like when
like
I watch it though, I don't notice it. Like I'm not noticing
right.
that it's panels.
Yeah.
Like I'm no I, like it I don't know what it is, but you're so focused on just
Yeah.
like what's happening in front of you.
It's such a weird man, like it's just such a weird and they showed it so they showed a cut like a side by side cut of the Avengers,
Yeah.
which was green screen,
Yep.
and then Mandalorian, and they showed like there was like this big sort of flowing scene. I think he's riding something, and then the Avengers are running,
Yeah.
and like they showed the difference, and it's weird because you're kind of right. It feels like they're in there,
Yeah.
whereas like in
On
Avengers, it's
Avengers
clearly
separate.
separate,
Exactly.
but you would think that it would be the same because it's still separate, you know?
But it's not like it's just there's just such a difference between what's digital
Yeah.
and what isn't. So like when you
But that
digitally
is
put a
digital because it's just a giant television that you're just putting the background on.
but it's not like you're not trying to match it up in post. I don't know. Like I mean
Oh, okay.
like you know what I
That I
mean?
could
Like
understand.
you're
So
trying not to match up movement of an animate object like a real
yeah,
object to a false background. You're not trying to you're trying to move both. Whereas in this one, the background stays the same. Which
right.
if you're running past a building, the building's not moving with you.
Yeah.
And in this, they're trying to emulate what the building would look like as you pass it, as opposed to what it looks like if you're just passing it. I know
Yeah.
it's messed up to
It's
think
messed up.
about, but
It's good.
but
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's such a,
Yeah.
and so I feel more in the world
Mhm.
when we watch
And
Mandalorian.
I did like they were saying that the animators
Mm.
were on set
Yeah.
with their their pads, and so they could like.
I mean that's
So if they did a retake, if Favreau was like, okay, we need to like let's try a different take from this angle, they could
they
literally just like shift it,
yeah.
like
And so
on the fly.
that just goes to
Versus,
show.
you're right. Versus like 6 weeks later, they're like, here you go,
Yeah.
animate it.
And then they're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
well that
So
doesn't
it's like a
quite
more
work."
collaborative
Yeah.
effort.
So like that just goes to show you like the technology now on what because I mean if they can do like live like they're basically doing live 3D rendering on set
Yeah.
and going like that angle's not going to work, let's move it to
Right.
this, right? It's kind of like when and what's cool about that and I love the analogy when you look at the old productions where the guy's just looking at a tennis ball and then they like CG the creature in front of it, right?
Yeah.
The cool thing is if on set I can actually look on your screen what I'm looking at, I now have a better idea of how to react. So for an actor, it's awesome because I can actually before I take set and look at the tennis ball, which they're still doing that, but before I look at the tennis ball, I can actually see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of those actors, like in the older, sci-fi movies and stuff like that, they actually didn't even know what the creature looked like. There's maybe some drawings of it and things like
Yeah,
that.
they wouldn't
They
know,
didn't
and
get
yeah.
like that, like well, like there's
Yeah.
saliva dripping, is it snarling? What then they just kind of go in and react,
Yeah.
and you can really tell when
Yeah.
that separation happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's the technology, but I mean, on top of all that, the story. Like the
Well,
story is,
but it's so simple.
yep,
Like
and
that's the
that's what's
beauty
wicked.
of it. Yeah.
That's what's
It's
wicked.
just
I don't have to think about like, well, who's freaking grandpa, and then the
yeah.
kid goes back, and then it's an auntie, and then an uncle, and then those two had to have done. I'm not thinking that. I'm just going like, here's a dude that's doing his thing, that he just is a good guy. He just met this
Yeah.
creature, and he's like, like I'm gonna protect this creature. I got a thing for it, and then he just meets these people, the child,
Uh,
the child, not
yeah.
creature, child.
And it's not Baby Yoda.
we don't. Yeah,
Actually,
I'm
I'm
not.
calling it. I don't think it's Baby Yoda. It doesn't make any sense. It's not like it's just. I think it's just a baby of his species.
Right.
That's what I think.
So here's and this is the first time I heard it in the trailer, and because like I like Star Wars as a like I like it, but I'm not like a dead fan. Um, this is the first time I've ever heard them refer to Jedi as sorcerers.
Okay, well There's my one.
So that
There's my
was
only problem.
interesting.
Yeah, it's my only problem with the trailer,
Hmm.
and my only problem. No, whoa, hang on. It's not my only problem with like the new movies, but it was one of the things that bugged me.
Mm.
So, on what planet, like in what universe would something have happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and it's like
Ancient
ancient
history.
history?
This is true.
That's what makes me mad.
Yeah, like the way that you'd think of Jedi, it's like or the way that I thought it was like this was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, but it's like it's
Jedi,
literally like 5 years after the Battle of Endor. Like so, it's like
right?
you know what I mean. Like it's just so literally. So even at the fall, so from the fall of the Republic, when the Clone Wars are happen, when the Clone Wars are going on, the Jedi were everywhere because they were the generals of the Clone Wars. So they were everywhere. They were on all the planets. They were fighting. They were all kinds of stuff. Then the Empire comes. Well, the Palpatine, they only reigned for 20 years. The Empire was only 20 years.
Right.
So it's like you would have still been, it just happened. That's like stuff from the 90s now.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make any, and with like an intergalactic news network and traders flying and you know what I mean, and cargo and all this stuff happening and commerce happening and people traveling across the galaxy. It's like
People would know what the hell
they would just know what's going on. So
Yeah.
it's like that's the thing that's weird. It's like, oh, this ancient sorcerers. It's like, no, it was like fucking 5 years ago. Pardon my, sorry, you can bleep that out, Pernita. But it's like, it's that's what's weird, and it's sometimes they're trying to make something more than what it is.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, when
Just
really
go with
it's
the
like,
flow.
what about the throwaway line of like, even if he was just like, oh, the Jedi, like they really screwed things up,
Yeah.
and then have him have an opinion on the Jedi before he even like meets them.
Right.
That would make more sense than trying to keep it sort of like, oh, I thought they were legends. I thought, oh, what? It's just, so I didn't like that about the trailer. And
Fair
then
enough.
Rosario Dawson wasn't in it.
All right.
Sasha Banks was in it from the WWE.
Yes.
They don't really know who she's going to be playing.
But Gina Carrera is still.
Gina Carano's still
Or
in
Carano,
it.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so they didn't show a lot, but and they didn't show Gideon.
All right.
Moff Gideon. They didn't show him, but that was obviously like the last scene from like when
That's
he
right.
uses the dark saber to cut open his TIE fighter and he's
Yes.
pissed off. Oh, shit.
So good. So good. I'm just hoping to see more Bill Burr.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, that's right. He's dead. That's right.
Or is he dead?
No, I don't
remember.
think so.
Or did he just was he
I got to rewatch. So I think the plan is like basically October,
leading up to it?
Yeah, October 29th. We're gonna watch the whole. We're just gonna stay up one
Yeah.
night and watch the
Watch
whole
it
thing,
all. Yeah.
right end to front to back.
Yeah.
And
Makes me happy though. It makes me happy because like, okay, if they're smart enough to just whatever movie they do next, if they just do it like this,
Yeah,
they're gonna be printing money again.
for sure. But and you make a good point earlier too, and which was about like the video games. Like I saw one trailer and it was like a Dark Sith one, and it was
Knights of the Old Republic.
it was nice, yeah, nice Steel Republic, and like I think it was I can't remember if it was a girl or a guy that was in like this cave, and then he ends up fighting like the saber battle is insane.
Yeah.
It's so well done. It's just and the whole like story arc that they had, and it was just like, damn, like
Yeah.
this is good.
Yeah, the opening to Knights of the Old Republic when the Sith come back
Hmm.
and they attack the like caravan, their home planet. They like take it back. Like that, there's a battle between an apprentice and a Jedi Master versus a Sith and his apprentice,
Yeah,
and they're in a hangar, and they go at each other,
yeah,
and it's like it's 2v2, so like the sabers are going, and then like the Jedi Master sees that his apprentice is like in trouble, and he like no, he like deflects one and then throws his saber across the room, and it deflects a a strike that was coming for her head, and
yeah.
then his saber comes back. Like it's, you know what I mean?
It's like
It's just
epic,
it's just epic. Like
epic.
it's and that's like if they just channel that,
Yep.
and man,
They just get, and I think so much more effort. It's like these board games. Like I remember reading stories. Like I had somehow come across this book, a Warhammer book.
yeah,
And it's just this
the
massive thing.
backstory just for the board game.
I'm
Yeah.
like, if they put an eighth, a tenth,
Yeah,
1/100th of the effort
Yeah.
into movies that they did into the
This-
backstory on the characters of this flipping board
true.
game,
It's true.
these movies would be like epic. And
It
then,
puts you in the world.
oh man, does it put you in the world?
I watched a review, retrospective on the first Dune that was made
Yeah.
by David,
And they're
David
remaking.
Lynch.
They're remaking
Yeah.
it again, right?
Yeah, it's coming out.
Yeah.
But I watched a retrospective on that, and in the opening weekend, they actually distributed pamphlets when you walked into the theater, which I didn't know,
What?
to give you the backstory because it's so big, and they're like, people aren't going to figure out what's going on, so they actually had this like little pamphlet that
Yeah.
this program that you opened up, and it
To go
was
see a
like,
movie.
this is the House Atreides, the House Harkonnen, this is Arrakis, this is the different planets,
Kinda
this
cool.
is the geopolitical
Yeah.
situation, and this is spice and what it's used for, and blah blah blah. They did it all, and
Yeah.
that way you could be like, oh, okay, like, but it didn't work
Yeah.
because people are stupid.
Right.
So
Well, and lazy.
and lazy.
No one's
Yeah, I
read the
think
damn panel.
yeah,
It hit the garbage can before they sat down and got their
and then
their
they're just
first
confused, and they're just
handful of popcorn.
yeah, they're just confused as shit. They're
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine in Dune, like, seeing it on a date, and the girl's just like, "Who is that? What?
This is
I thought he was
stupid.
with them."
Why is that thing in
Why is
her
that-
nose?
And just, you know what I mean? It's like, so the movie was legitimately the problem with doing what you're saying is like that movie was a good example. It's legitimately like if you didn't read the book, you had no effing idea what was
Right.
you couldn't handle the movie because they, unless
But
you
that's where like a creative storytelling comes in. So like when you look at like John Wick, like you start going through John Wick and then you find out all the backstory, but it's going to take 5 movies for you to like
yeah
really get who
Yeah.
John Wick is. Because even today we're on John Wick 3. I think they're filming 4 and 5 back to back.
yeah
You still don't know what John Wick did to become John Wick. Like you don't like we know that he buried a bunch of like he
Yeah, he killed
one
a bunch of
day
guys,
he
yeah.
killed a bunch of guys, which is the foundation on what everybody lives. But you don't know like why, how, who.
yeah but I
and
guess
I think it's getting there.
but for him, for that story, it's not as important because
You're
like,
there-
I think
you're
when
just
you're-
there to see someone kick a bunch of ass.
well, when you're talking politics, like when you're talking like, geopolitics and like and trade,
yeah.
one of the boring things about Episode 1 in Star Wars is that it was like a trade war. You know what I mean? It was like nobody cares about like tariffs,
Yeah.
and like taxation and that kind of stuff. But
Speaking of tariffs and taxations.
yeah, are we moving on?
Moving on.
Okay.
Let's get in. We start on a positive note. We're gonna go into
This could be positive too.
this could.
It's funny at least.
It's funny at
It's
least.
comedy.
I guess it is comedy. It's more like
Comical.
a comedy
The
tragedy.
dark comedy,
Yeah,
Shakespearean tragedy.
It is. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're looking at Ay caramba.
I love it because it just comes up like, fuck sakes.
Moving on. What's next on the slide?
It's, well, okay, look.
What?
First of all, okay, if it actually
of the dark
happens,
Sith.
if it actually happens, which I'm not convinced it will, but if they actually go through with this debate on the 28th, it's going to be like,
It's gonna be
it's going to
debauchery.
be, it's going to be a shit show, and it's going to be awesome. And it's probably going to be one of the most watched things just of all time. Like, from a ratings perspective, it's going to
all I
be
can do is laugh.
insane.
All I can do is laugh.
The hypertension.
Diabetes versus hypertension.
Oh, it's just. I think it's just narcissism versus straight up old age,
But
versus straight up you're dying. You're dying in front of us.
like
Biden's
Biden just like
he can't do it.
no, Trump's gonna like take that stage. He's gonna be so
Like, I think he'll
aggressive,
physically-
so
I-
loud. He'll be so aggressive, so loud.
Yeah.
And Biden is just not that guy. And the other thing I think is that if Biden gets angry, he'll screw up. He'll say the wrong thing,
Yes,
and it won't come out right. Because
he just can't come. It just can't come out.
I don't
right.
think he can just correlate.
No.
He can't put the structure together
Right.
if he's angry.
Yeah.
I think he. I mean, I like Biden. I think as a person, but I don't think he's got the up here. I don't think he's got the wits
Yeah.
to battle Trump.
Right.
Trump's just too witty. Trump's got so many snappers.
And
They
so
don't make
much-
sense, but you freaking listen.
Like Rogan said it perfectly. He's like, his comedic timing is just perfect. He's
insane.
like,
It's so good.
It's the timing of like a seasoned veteran comic. Like it's you know what I mean? It's
Hands down.
It's Richard Pryor
Yeah, yeah.
level like zingers, like just bang perfect. And and that's what
And he's gonna be calling he's
he's gonna call
calling
it out?
China virus. He's gonna be calling stuff out left, right, and center.
and you're legitimately gonna Biden, because if it's going to be an hour, 2 hours, like he's going to slow it. He's going to get tired. He's going to slow down. He's not going to be able to
when
walk
you're being
around.
berated like that, like Trump's gonna do it like
It's
consistently.
he's
He's gonna get tired in the first 15, 30 minutes.
That's right, and he's not going to let him. If Biden starts to be like what is he? And then he starts to slur. Trump's not even going to let him finish. He's
he'll
just
hack
going
him
to
at
be.
the
He'll
knees.
just kick him when he's down. I don't know, man.
There's just no. I mean, look at the look. Look at the look on his face. Like this guy is so smug.
It's just.
Like in his mind, he can't do any wrong.
Yeah.
He just in his brain, he can't do it wrong.
I think for this election to make any sense,
If we can
we're
even
lucky.
get to an election,
well,
we're still fighting on how we're gonna vote,
How they're even gonna
how
vote.
they're gonna vote, right?
like the nice thing about being up in Canada is it doesn't really matter.
No.
It doesn't really make a difference, and also we don't have to vote. We don't have to worry about the election results or like how. But the thing is that if you are an American, if there's an American watching this, I think you can only really just decide, okay, which party am I voting for?
Right.
You got to take these two clowns out of it.
Yeah.
You do. You have to say, okay, you look at the I urge you to
Please.
to just go on their platforms, and just say like, okay,
This applies to me or this doesn't.
does this work for me or doesn't it? It's like, and look at it that way, because these two guys ain't it. But at the same time, they're not pulling the strings anyway.
Right.
Like that's the thing, because Biden, he doesn't, they're pumping him full of stimulants, and it's weekend at Biden's. They're literally just like, they're putting the sunglasses on him and they're just like wheeling him out there. And he's just, and then once he's in office, they're going to be making policy.
Oh,
there's a dozen people
pull on
behind
the
the
strings.
scenes
Pull
pulling
on
the
the
strings.
Yeah.
And Trump is the same in the sense that he thinks it's his ideas. But
he owns it. Like that.
Oh no, but he does.
God,
Absolutely.
he owns it.
Yeah, he does. He does.
He owns anything and everything. Like if it's somebody else pulling the strings, Trump walks out there. He's like, "Yep, that was me." Like he just owns it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, man, like, do you realize that's a bad thing to own? He's like, "Ah, no, that was me.
Yeah,
That's all me. I am the shit. Like
he's
crazy.
It's crazy, but I think this is just my I think in the end, if you care about the American dream, like you care about the ability to make a living and raise your family and have a little bit of safety and have a little bit of, just have the idea that the future is going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think just from their platforms, the Republicans just make more sense
Yeah.
for that average person, the
For a
average person,
steady life.
for a steady
Steady,
lifestyle,
solid. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
and you can just look at, and it depends. You just have to look at, if you look at those Republican states, if you just look at the average quality of life,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I'm not talking about the extremes, like I'm not talking about the extremely wealthy or the extremely
Yeah.
poor,
You got a
or
house, you got a
or the
car.
minorities, but I'm
Yeah.
talking, that's
Safe.
right. If you get up in the
Education.
morning, you went to you went to college, you got some entry level job, you got married, you go to work in the morning, you buy a house, you got 1.5 kids, you got a car. It's like, that's at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's like the average person, like that's just what they want. Like that's just what they need, right? And and uh, there you
All
go.
right, so
So
our control booth girl is pulling up. The internet is having a blast, putting memes together of
yeah.
Biden and UFC
Well,
UFC bouts. That's awesome.
and that's what I think. Like, and that's how it is right now, because I just think for the average, and that's not everybody's average. I get it.
Mhm.
So I mean, everyone's gonna have their own thing, but
But there is like this kind of scary part of where there's not the average, but there is a very large majority of people out there, not just Americans, but all over the world, that just want chaos too. Like they
yeah,
just want the whole thing to come down.
right.
And I think those guys would also get behind Trump because maybe they see that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like there's just some like just there's some people out there who just want to see the whole damn thing burn,
Yeah,
and they just want to see chaos, and they'll get behind it any day of the week.
yeah.
And like yeah.
Now
It's
here's the
just
thing.
such a
Okay, so
bizarre world.
how come only this is a question, and maybe somebody, maybe we can have somebody on here that explains it to me.
That would be fantastic.
Why is it just the Democratic cities that are burning?
Right.
Like that's weird.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's an it's different if they're like, oh man, it's happening here, it's happening there, but it is like over. You know what I mean? It
Yep.
is like very specifically
Yeah.
the Democrat. So what? So then what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a
Well, it definitely
population
says
thing?
something.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is.
Right.
But what I don't know. It's just
You
very
made a good
strange.
point, and I'm going to bring this up on the next podcast. I love, and I don't think you and I have talked about it. I know me and my wife have talked about it, but we were when you said the American dream, right? It's so interesting, and what's so unique about America, the United States, is that they have that. They've got like this very clear definition of like
What it
this is
is.
America. Like this is what we are, the American dream. You come here, you build a house, you have an idea, you can make it, and you can make it big.
Yeah.
And like that's like this thing about America that's so like appealing to everybody, I think, in the
Yeah.
world. And I think like the people that hate America might be a little bit jealous, and that's why they hate America, because America has like this just clear definition of like this is what you can
Yeah.
become, and when you come here, you will become whatever you want.
Yeah. Like there's
And
that possibility,
there's
right?
just
And
that,
even like
yeah.
you talk
work
like
hard, you get
yeah,
it, you
and there's
get it, right?
examples, like there's examples you can see. So it's like, yeah, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? It's
Yep.
like such a good, okay, he's one of the biggest film stars of all time, blah blah. He's, but it just shows it's like there I'm a numbers person
Mhm.
when it comes to like helping informing my decision
Yep,
about
yep.
things. I'm a numbers and data. Like I like, and to me it's just you only have to look. It's like people are coming to the United States. They're coming to Canada
In droves.
in droves. It's why is that? Like it's not people, and I get into a lot of arguments with people that are like, oh, Sweden knows what they're doing. Oh, Norway, the Scandinavian countries, oh man, they got it dialed in. Or man, I want to live anywhere but stupid North America. And it's just like, but then we would see, go,
Yeah. Yeah.
like we would see
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of people
What's holding you back?
Yeah, we would see hundreds of thousands of people moving to these places, but they're not.
Yep.
Everyone's coming here.
Yep.
And to me, you have to step back and say, whatever my thoughts are about things, it's like, maybe you have to take a step back and say, wait a second, that's why we're here.
Hmm.
We're here because, like you said, it's like, I always say, like, I'll suffer a trillionaire. I don't care that Jeff Bezos will be a trillionaire.
Right.
Because if he's a trillionaire, that means that I have a chance to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Or I have a chance to be
Exactly.
extremely comfortable. Like, because that's the spectrum. Whereas, or would you rather live in a place where you wake up and what you have is what you'll have forever? Zero hope.
Well, and you and I had this conversation on a previous podcast about just like the perspectives. Like we were
Yeah.
looking at like these spoiled brats that are out there, and they're just like, I want my car, and I want it, my $1 million, I want it given to me, right? But then there's like, man, like you're safe, you have an education, like the people aren't coming to bomb you. No, you're not worried about somebody kicking down your door and killing your family. Like, take what you got and be happy with it.
Yeah.
And I guess that is like the one thing about Canada, and I don't think we communicated very well when we're doing our messaging to our own citizens and the people who are coming to this country. But it's like we need to communicate better. Like we need like a definition of Canada. Like the States has that. Like their definition is that, like I said, dream big,
Yeah.
come here, you can make it, coming to America. We need that, like, be safe, be,
Yeah.
taken care of. I mean, like, we do have like the healthcare and stuff like that. So like there's got to be some sort of, like, it's almost like we need like a byline of Canada, like a,
Yeah.
like a,
Well,
like
is
a
it
one
like,
liner of
well, they
what
always,
explains.
yeah, they always call like the North strong and free,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But like,
what does that mean?
what does that mean?
Right? Like
Yeah.
we're in the States, it's like the home, I guess they're the home of the land and the brave. Isn't that that's the byline of
No,
or is that just part of their
something.
it's something like
that's
that. Anyway.
that's on there. That's in their national anthem.
That's their national anthem, yeah. Oh, they have
Well,
the founding
so they have the
fathers,
founding fathers. Like they have the Declaration of Independence.
and they
have
stick
the
with that.
they have the
Like
like the
that's
constitutionalists in the
Yeah.
United States are very like, no, this document
Yeah.
is what the foundation is.
And that's
to
just like that's
build
what I
on.
mean. Like they
Yeah.
have this foundation
Yeah.
that they no matter what the situation, not doesn't mean it's always the right thing, but
Right.
no matter what the situation, they've got this thing that they just go back to about
Yeah.
this is what our beliefs are, this is what our
Yeah.
system
And I
is,
think
and we hold on to it.
they've forgotten that in a lot of ways
Mm.
when
Well, it's
like,
definitely been abused.
yeah, like
It's abused.
it's this feeling of
The
like
world has changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think they feel like I think the danger why they're here
Yeah.
now, like why they're here.
Oh yeah, those two.
These
That's
two.
that's how we
But,
started
but
on
it's like,
this.
no, but why they're here is because they're not like I'm an American.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's gotten lost, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And it has probably a lot. It's a lot to do with a lot of things, but they've somehow changed things
Mhm.
to be like, I'm not an American. I'm an African American. I'm a student.
Mhm.
They've made their worlds smaller, segregated. I'm a woman. I'm a Latino. I'm a you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've divided up.
But that's culture, like, or that's society now too. Society has really like
I guess Canada's feeling that too. Like
Every-
and now
the
we're
whole
saying like we're
world
up from
is.
Alberta. Oh, the people in Quebec are like, no, we're from Quebec. We're not like no, we're all
like
Canadian.
literally
and
as
it's
a
like,
planet, we're more divided now than we've ever
I
been
feel-
as a
yeah.
planet. Like I mean, because
Yeah.
you've got like like you said it, like I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a gay and lesbian, I'm a now we're really focused on this on black, Chinese, white.
Yeah, we're almost getting more worried about race when and people
Well, we're
can say
getting more worried about our tribalism.
that's right. Yes, yes.
And so whether it's race, sexual orientation, gender, it's
Yeah,
just
economic status, like even
economic
just saying,
status,
even like
we're so
yeah,
divided.
Yeah,
like we are
Yeah.
not, and like all of them, all of these groups are moving in different directions.
Yeah.
And it's just tearing
Yeah.
the world apart.
and I think, and on the political side, and
Mhm.
we're seeing it in Canada too. On the political side, what happens is they see this happening,
Mhm.
they see this fracturing, and it's also partly their fault and the media's fault, but
Yep.
they see this fracturing, and then they say, "Shit, okay, how do we get these votes?" Because they're in the business of being
They're-
elected. That's
exactly.
what they're in the business.
They've
of.
got their own agenda
Right.
that is not it's not a unified agenda. It's their own
Yeah, it's
agenda.
their own thing. And then
So
there's
they're pulling in
right.
a different
So they're
direction
just saying,
too.
okay, shit, okay, there's all these little splinter groups happening. How do we get those? How do we bring them in? But then what ends up happening is you come up with and their platform's perfect. Like if you go to like Biden, like, I mean, if you go to the Democrats platform, it's patently insane. Like it is. It actually like the only, and if you look at like the Green New Deal that
Yep.
they've got going on.
Yep.
If you look at like and I mean more close to home, like the NDP's
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
You know, like said it before, Jasmeet Singh, awesome guy.
Yep.
Actually, I think he's my favorite like leader of the groups.
Yeah.
But their platform's insanity.
Right.
Right. So it's like, but all they're doing is like they're just coming up with these things and they're just saying, okay, if we say this, we'll get these guys. If we say this, we'll get these guys. If we say this, if we promise this, we'll get this group.
Yeah.
And by the time you're done, you forget about Joe Blow and his wife and 2 kids and car and house. And
Well,
then
and you also
where are you
forget about
left
like,
with?
hey, all the shit that we just promised, it's
Yeah.
unattainable.
It's completely
like the way
completely unattainable.
like it's unattainable, and also like without, it's unattainable to do that if we promise this. So it's like I'm gonna promise we're gonna do this, and this, but I can't do this if you want this, and
Yes.
this, or I can't do that if
Right.
you want this, and this.
Right.
So they're promising just unattainable items because they just want that
Right.
vote.
Yeah.
And it's
And then now
broken.
they've gotten to a point where it's like, well, if you go out on the campaign trail and you say we're not doing that because that's unattainable, they automatically take that and they put it against whatever group that it relates to. So then it's like, we can't do that because that's unattainable. Oh, okay, so you're a racist.
Right.
We can't do that because that's unattainable. Oh, okay, so you're a homophobe. Is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And it's like,
You just can't
yeah.
win.
Oh, you don't care about homeless people. Oh, you don't care about poor people. Oh, like.
So then they overcompensate to try and get that back, and then
Yes.
it causes a whole nother
Right.
problem.
Right.
It's
like
such,
so messed up.
such a messed up. Yeah. All right. Okay. We went to crazy, and now we're gonna move on to.
Because you're a Nissan guy.
Hey, I'm a Nissan
He's a
guy.
Nissan guy.
I love the Nissans, and they had a big announcement here, and so they got the
400Z or the Z Proto,
Z Proto,
which is the 400Z.
It's a sexy car. Like it looks good. I don't know if I'm too hot on the color.
Well, they're just gonna pick a color.
They're just gonna pick one, yeah. But it looks good. I mean, they haven't changed a lot though. Like body wise, like
no, it's actually still it's a 370Z underneath still because they're not coming up with a new platform.
Right.
They don't have the money to do that. Right. They were way too busy smuggling their executives in a suitcase out of Japan to come up with anything better. But anyway, it's cool. It's retro, like the retro vibe.
Yeah.
I don't like the front. I think they should have stuck with the round headlights if you're going to do that.
Oh yeah.
But I love it's just an 80s 90s baby in me. I love the back tail lights looking like the 300Z tail lights. So it's
I love the 370 is
and it is cool. I love the 372. I think it's really great.
And it was Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift that just sold me on that car.
They were 350s in Tokyo.
Oh, they were 350s. That's right. Yes,
you can barely tell. I mean, they're all modded so
cool,
much.
Right?
But
yeah, and the body kits that you get, these things are just so sexy.
I'm my only. I mean, I hope it looks like that.
Yeah,
obviously when it comes out, but also like when you look at it compared to like the new Supra, this design is just way cleaner and way more sort of confident. Whereas like the Supra was just like, oh my god, we got to keep putting vents and scoops until it like looks like a race car. And
right.
So it's cool.
Yeah, it's a sexy car. It's I think I always tell my wife if I got rid of my my Ninja, my H2SX, I think we'd go into something like this that we could both enjoy it.
Yeah, throw bags in. Like I mean, I'm always for me, you always have to look at like, okay, we're in Edmonton, Alberta. What can I drive? Or if I'm stuck on the Henday for 45 minutes, it's comfortable. Yep. But if I want to just blast to like Banff or Calgary or it's fun. I can throw some bags in and just go, and it's fun. And it's like, to me, I've never been a muscle car guy, but it sort of speaks to me that they sort of make the most sense.
Right.
And I've always felt that like the Z's were like sort of the Japanese muscle car,
Right. Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah.
kind of thing. Like
Yep.
it
Good
wasn't,
way to
it's
look
not
at it.
as
Yeah. Yeah.
like trying so hard to be this like sharp,
Mm-hmm.
like the Supra and the other cars like were always trying to be like the RX-7, it's like was trying to be like as sharp and fast as possible. And it's
Yep.
like, to me, the Z's always had this little bit of like more,
Well, like I look at this car and I'm like, this is gonna go down into the books as like a classic. Like like when you look 40 years from now, you'll be like, oh,
yeah.
that's gonna be the new classic for that.
Well,
This time frame,
I
right?
think anything with like a snorting engine, a manual transmission, and nice and looks like that, I
Yeah.
think they're going to be classics because in our lifetime, we're going to see people just getting into like bubble pods and
Yep.
just getting dropped off
And
somewhere.
electrics.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's going to be
There's so
no
many
engines,
electrics. Yeah.
all electric. So anything like this is going to be like a nice throwback.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of wonder how long it's going to take for us to have to buy gasoline in like a tank and have
Right.
it delivered to your house, and you can only take the car out.
Because you're the only guy with a gas.
Yeah, on the block,
gas
right?
car.
So
Yeah.
and you're gonna be like, oh, I want to drive the car today. Okay, it's gonna cost me $80
Yeah. Yeah.
because I have to use this gasoline that's stored in my garage, right?
Yeah.
Versus being able to,
Yeah.
Alberta will be the last, like one of the last places just because of geographically, but
Yep.
it's getting there.
Yep.
Like, it's gonna get there where it's gonna be like those cars are gonna be special, not just because of how they look and how they sound, but that like you're not gonna be able to see them because they're just gonna be so hard to keep on the road.
Yep. And
That's
then
kinda
it's
cool.
going to be in our lifetime. Like
Yeah, absolutely, it's gonna be in our
like
lifetime.
another 30, 40 years, it'll definitely be in our lifetime. Like and it'll be interesting because I mean, you said it, you hit the nail on the head there. Like Alberta is going to be one of the last. There's a few other places in the world, but because we need utility, like
Yes.
in this province, in this country, because we're so remote. You go into Russia and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
there's so many remote places, and people still work severely remote that keep an economy going. They need a rugged, reliable, like the Tesla truck. I don't know. I don't like. It's just
Like in -30, it's like,
yeah. I don't know.
you're gonna be able to actually.
I'd be really curious to know the
Yeah.
numbers on like how good these batteries are
Right.
when it is -30 for 8 months out of the year.
Yeah, like it
it's
is.
just
It's
cold
just,
and shitty, right?
you know,
So
and that goes back into real quick. That goes back into the whole when the politicians are talking about like buy fossil fuels and
yeah,
wind and so on, blah blah. It's like, look, it's not gonna happen.
yeah. Be realistic.
Like, be real. Like, it's -40. You gotta heat your home.
Exactly.
It's like you gotta drive your car. It's just
Just
yeah,
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Anyway,
Awesome. As always, great chat, Nick. This was super fun again.
Yeah.
Love doing these, and we will see everybody next week.
next week for more.
Enjoy the weekend. Be safe, and yeah, see ya.
See you then.
Peace.